Guys, we've got the major news that just broke last night. CBS, NBC favorites to get the second-tier Big Ten games. If it turns out ESPN could possibly be shut out from carrying Big Ten games, which is a major deal considering the already SEC bias we've seen from ESPN. If they get no rights to the Big Ten, their SEC bias and their influence is only going to get worse. And we speculated yesterday that NBC was trying to make a play for the Big Ten and have a premier night game. Looks like that's going to happen. It also looks like CBS, who we originally thought was going to pivot to the Big 12, is in play for the 3:30 window with Big Ten, presumably Tier 2 games, not the Tier 1. The guess is that the Tier 1 games will be the Fox Sports Big Noon games. It says CBS is expected to pay in the $350 million per year neighborhood, which is just a ridiculous amount, for 3:30 Big Ten games, according to sources, and you can see the overall comparison to what they're currently paying for the SEC 3:30 games, $55 million per year. That goes all the way up times 6, $350 million, which just goes to show you the absolute mega deal the Big Ten expects to get, in the neighborhood of $1.5 billion for their overall TV rights, with Fox Sports leading the way with their Big Noon. You guys can kind of see how it could potentially set up for the Big Ten. You've got Big Noon on Fox, you've got the 3:30 CBS window, and then you've got a 7:30 NBC game, which would replace the 7:30 ABC/ESPN game that we normally see, like Ohio State at Penn State, which is normally the whiteout. It's normally a night game, 7:30 on ABC. That game would transition to NBC because NBC wants to do a thing where they have a big Saturday night college football game and then they have a major Sunday night NFL game. That's what NBC is trying to do. CBS, there were rumors that CBS wanted the Big 12. Maybe CBS is still interested in the Big 12, but it's very clear they want that exclusive 3:30 window. It'll be interesting to see how this is all divvied up. How many of the biggest games will Fox still get to air on their Big Noon versus CBS getting games at 3:30 and NBC at 7:30. I think this is an amazing setup for the Big Ten overall, and we do have an exclusive story right here. It says Big Ten media rights, what we know as negotiations enter final stretch. We are expecting news any moment at this point. The Big Ten is poised to deliver a stunner when it finalizes its media rights negotiations at some point in the coming days, barring a last-minute surprise. ESPN is not expected to land one of the Big Ten packages, according to a source within the negotiation. So, guys, I think the major story here is, ESPN, ABC, I have no issues with their product. But I do like NBC. I think it would be cool to see Ohio State games on NBC. On CBS, the one issue we're going to run into, ESPN is still a major focal point when it comes to college football. We already know how ridiculously biased they are when it comes to being pro-SEC. They own the SEC network when you compare it to the Big Ten, and it's only going to get worse now that they literally have zero rights to the Big Ten, so there's no reason to support it. I mean, they were already biased even when Ohio State games were on their network. Now, if they get no Ohio State games, they get no Michigan games, the bias is going to be ridiculous, and it's going to impact. We know ESPN has all those college football top 25 reveal shows. They set the narrative for the casual fan base in college football. That's who the casual fan base is watching. So that would be my one concern if I am a Big Ten fan. You're going to have blatant bias against your conference. It's already happening. In addition to Fox, which had locked up Big Ten rights months ago, the conference is likely to partner with both CBS and NBC. Such deals, if finalized, could result in the following Saturday slate. You've got Big Noon, you've got a 3:30 window game on CBS, and a primetime 7:30 game on NBC. Multiple sources involved in the negotiations have reiterated over the past month that the Big Ten has prioritized exclusive windows throughout the process. The Big Ten is also expected to add a streaming package. Oh, God. A source told The Athletic, though it is not clear yet how it will be structured and whether or not Amazon or Apple will be involved. Both companies have, so that would not be good. And then Peacock as well. Oh my God. Streaming sports is such a horrible experience, but it does look like that will be involved in some form. Probably lower tier Big Ten games like a Northwestern at Nebraska type thing. They might put it exclusively on Peacock or something. But hopefully it's not going to be any big games when it comes to the overall. I'm guessing it wouldn't be. If CBS is paying this amount of money, they're going to be getting major games at 3:30. They're going to be getting Ohio State games, and then the 7:30 window with NBC. They should be paying a ton. I mean, if CBS is paying $350 million for one Big Ten game a week, it'll be a big game. But it's crazy when you compare what it paid for the SEC's 3:30 window at $55 million. It's just a ridiculous increase, and I think it shows that the Big Ten is slightly more valuable than the SEC. Now, the SEC is going to get a major deal in their own right, but when you look at the industry and what people are saying, it's trending towards the Big Ten with the addition of the California schools being a little bit more in terms of profit for the conference and making the conference a little bit more wanted by the normal college football fan due to its overall viewership being slightly better. What this means for the Pac-12, Big 12, and Notre Dame, if ESPN doesn't get a Big Ten package, you'd have to think this bodes well for both the Pac-12 and the Big 12. The Pac-12 opened its exclusive negotiation window with ESPN right after USC and UCLA moved to the Big Ten. So yeah, I'm expecting ESPN to 100% take the Pac-12, and it's been reported they've offered a 12-year, $350 million deal to the Pac-12. And then this is a weird situation for the Big 12 because there was a thought that CBS originally wanted to get a major slice of the Big 12 pie in terms of the overall TV rights. Don't know if that's going to happen now that they're shilling out $350 million on the Big Ten and that 3:30 window. So could ESPN also be in play to take the Tier 1 rights of the Big 12? That is possible. What is perhaps equally, if not more interesting, is how Notre Dame fits into these developments. Could NBC's relationship with the Big Ten help push the Irish towards joining the conference? With a longtime rival USC and a footprint that now stretches from Los Angeles to New York, the Big Ten believes it has never been more attractive to Notre Dame. So that is another interesting wrinkle. Multiple outlets have reported that the Big Ten is seeking to, okay, we knew that. It's seeking about $1.5 billion in total fees. So that's interesting. You've got NBC possibly partnering with the Big Ten. We know their relationship with Notre Dame. Could this push Notre Dame to join the Big Ten Conference eventually with NBC's partnership with the Big Ten? I don't know if NBC has that much of an influence because we know how much Notre Dame loves being an independent. They love that exclusiveness to it. And then we've got this story, the impact on future conference realignment. The Big Ten's decision to add USC and UCLA early in the summer sparked another wave of speculation about super conferences, though the SEC and the Big Ten are both going to be at 16 members apiece by 2025. The expectation throughout the industry is that neither league is going to stay that size forever, but there has not been any major movement since the news broke at the end of June. The Pac-12 is beginning to work through its media rights deal and figure out what it's worth to partners without the LA schools. The expectation is each school is going to get about 25, maybe 26 million per year. That was the offer on the table from ESPN, which is obviously way less than even the Big 12, but especially the Big 10 and the SEC. That is likely the next important piece of the puzzle as will be any sort of contractual relationships that tether schools such as Oregon, Washington, and Stanford to the Pac-12 for a set period of time. And again, that's why Oregon and Washington want no exit fee, so they can leave this potential new horrible contract the Pac-12 signs very likely with ESPN. I'm thinking ESPN gets all the tiers in terms of media rights with the Pac-12. You know what? There might be some streaming involved with the Pac-12. A streaming company like Amazon, or maybe like Peacock, they might be interested in taking some of the rights to some of these Pac-12 games. The Big Ten opted to add just 2 schools back in June. Now that the media deal is nearly done, could it look further into the possibility of a Western wing? If the Big Ten really wanted to, it could look both to the Pacific Northwest and the Bay Area. That could give the conference inventory for the Saturday late night window, a 4th window for those keeping track at home. But you think they would already have that window with USC and UCLA. So I don't know. It would be expanded with Oregon and Washington and also Stanford if they wanted to, but theoretically they would already have access to that window. Maybe not every weekend, but UCLA and USC, some of the weekends would possibly play at 10 o'clock at night. Could the new media rights deal and relationship with NBC convince Notre Dame to make a move? The Big Ten would surely act quickly if that became a possibility. These potential decisions did not need to be made and locked in before the Big Ten signs a deal. Multiple people involved in the process said that they expect the league's contracts to include triggers that would either allow for renegotiation in the event of conference membership addition or incrementally adjust the payouts automatically in such an event. So they're already planning for Notre Dame to potentially join the conference, which would trigger a change to the way the contracts are structured. So that tells me there's at least some indication from the Big Ten, if they're able to get this done with Fox, with NBC, with CBS, there's an idea that Notre Dame would be intrigued due to this lucrative TV contract to potentially joining the conference. That is what this article is saying. It appears the Big Ten will air all 3 coveted windows, noon, 3:30, and primetime on Fox, CBS, and NBC, right in that order. FS1 and Big Ten Network, of which Fox owns 61%, also will spread off kickout. So that's the same. That's what they've been doing with FS1 and the Big Ten Network. Big Ten officials have asked schools to consider joining Iowa and Nebraska as a second Black Friday option, which now could be in play with USC and UCLA joining the league in 2024. To this point, all have declined. So that is very, very interesting news, and you can kind of see the comparison here, the Big Ten versus the SEC and how their slates line up. The SEC is just going to be completely controlled by ESPN, it looks like. And you've got the Big Ten kind of split up between Fox, CBS, and NBC, at least right now. I mean, look at that schedule. The SEC at noon on ABC ESPN, 3:30 ABC ESPN, 7:30 ABC ESPN, versus the Big Ten kind of spread out. So this is a very crazy long-term deal, and this could be the thing that pushes Notre Dame to join the Big Ten. The relationship with NBC, the $1.5 billion deal, the renegotiation that could happen. They're already signing this contract with the idea that they will renegotiate it when they add more teams, probably Stanford and Notre Dame. They're already speculating that there's already loopholes in it. That's what this article said. So that is breaking. This is all happening. This was a super in-depth article. The key thing to note, it broke last night. It's Fox, it's CBS, and it's NBC, and you're getting Big Noon on Fox, and you're getting CBS, the 3:30 game, and you're getting the primetime 7:30 kickoff on NBC, and any sort of Big Ten game on ESPN will likely be extinct. ESPN will have no Big Ten games. That is that's the probable scenario right now based on the intel we're hearing. Fox, CBS, and NBC emerge as frontrunners. ESPN, Amazon still talking, but both are on the outside looking in, and the deal could be completed as early as this week or next. So that is the latest news on the negotiation. I think it's a really good thing overall for the Big Ten. Both CBS and NBC put out a really good product in terms of their NFL coverage. And CBS with the 3:30 SEC games, I really think it's a good product overall. So the one problem, if you're the Big Ten, there's going to be even more bias against you by the SEC, by ESPN, because they're going to just be so obsessed with the SEC. There's no reason for them to promote the Big Ten because they get no benefit from it overall. They're going to have no games. So it is a crazy thing that is happening. And guys, we will continue to update you. But that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.